time, let's get back to news as far as what we are told that President Biden will not be now visiting Australia for the Quad meeting, and that is unlikely to happen. But will it have any impact on the Prime Minister's visit to the US next month? Well, that remains to be seen. However, whatever are the reasons that are being cited for President Biden cancelling his Quad meeting in Sydney, when his appointment for this meeting for Quad that we are told is now been postponed. And however, because this may also have an impact on the Prime Minister's visit to also the United States next month. I'm told that there is Srinjoy and also Mr. Jitarth are with us right now. Sir, good morning to you. Can you help us understand, Mr. Jitarth, when it comes to this Quad meeting, will it have any impact with President Biden not being present in it, sir?
See, as we are given to understand, the Quad meeting in Australia, in Sydney, is cancelled now. Prime Minister Albanese says that he would like to call it. It has been postponed for the moment, but it's not sure whether unofficially teams are scrambling to have a meeting, Quad-like meeting, we are told, in Japan, in Tokyo, between G7 sometime around that time. We are not sure about it. However, Prime Minister Modi is now will be the key star in Australia. We are told as big as Prime Minister Albanese is saying that he understands that Prime Minister Modi is visiting as scheduled to Sydney, and given that Biden is not here, then maybe there can be a scheduled trip to Canberra, Australian Parliament, and Prime Minister Modi might address Australian Parliament on 23rd or 24th. They are still scrambling what date will suit him.
Right, but Srinjoy, why has President Biden called off his trip? Because as we are hoping that Australia was saying that the meeting with the leaders of India and Japan could proceed with the senior representative from the US, but hours later it was confirmed that the event was off. It was called off. Why?
Well, President Biden has very important domestic commitments. There is his budget, and there is the economic issue, which is of primary importance. So if those things are not cleared in a bipartisan way in the United States, then the functioning of the US government will come to an end. So as a result, this has to get top priority, which is why President Biden has been forced to cancel his visit to Australia and go back to Washington, D.C. As far as Prime Minister Modi's visit to the United States is concerned, there should be no problem. That is much later. That is on the 21st of June, and that is not a problem at all. He will definitely be going to Washington as of now. As far as the Quad meeting is concerned, we will really have to see. We will have to see if something can happen in Japan, because Prime Minister will be there, the Japanese will be there, the Americans will be there, the Australians may be there. So then there can be a possibility of that happening there. But as far as PM's visit to America is concerned, there is no problem. That is on the 21st of June, and that is on. President Biden's cancellation was purely for a domestic reason, was for a very important domestic reason, nevertheless.
But domestic priority for the president, understandably, but also when it comes to resolving those issues there. But Jitarth, when it comes to Biden's visit to Australia, with a historic stop at Papua New Guinea, we've also seen that having been confirmed in the recent weeks, that has been long anticipated. And it would have also included an address to the parliament. So are we looking at postponement, or are we looking at the entire visit to be rescheduled?
See, as of now, at least Australian government is liking to be called postponed, but I'm sure that it will take another 3 to 6 months to reschedule, if that is possible, in terms of Quad happening in Sydney. As we understand that after December or so, Prime Minister Modi is unlikely to visit any other country because of your own domestic elections coming in May 2024. So the window is really narrow from May to December. That is the time whether we can can reschedule it in Sydney or not. It has to be seen. However, the big announcement in terms of Pacific, which were supposed to be made by President Biden, those almost $1 billion he was going to announce for the welfare of the Pacific Islands, including Fiji, Solomon Islands, Papua New Guinea, and others. So that would have shown kind of interest of America is still in geopolitics and the well-being of Pacific Islands. This is kind of a setback when China is very actively working to get influence in Pacific Islands and very close to New Zealand and Australia, and which is of interest to us, India also. We are given to understand as of now that Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Papua Guinea visit is as per the schedule, that is on 22nd. Indo-Pacific conference is there, so that will be there. We were told that time schedule has been narrowed because of Biden's being present in Papua, so probably that will be spread over. It will be seen in next couple of days. Probably by tonight there will be much more clear picture what's going on for 22nd, 23rd and 24th.
Right. What about the Prime Minister's upcoming visit to Sydney as well? Because we are told that there will be likely bilaterals that will also be held. And also, when it comes to the Prime Minister of Japan, he is also expected to visit Sydney.
Yes. See, all this has been planned. And this was planned for a long time, for weeks and months. Everyone knew that this Quad meeting was taking place. It's only now that President Biden has had to go back. That is really the problem. So everyone's visit was scheduled. Prime Minister of Japan, Kishida, was going to go. Prime Minister Modi was going to be there. Prime Minister Albanese had decided that this was going to happen. So everything was in place. It's only last night that President Biden has said, or the American government has said, that look here, we cannot do the Quad meeting. We have to go back to America for domestic reasons, for domestic, economic, financial reasons. If we are all not there, then the running of the US government will stop. So that has to be done, and everybody has to be there in a bipartisan way. The president, the leaders of the Republican Party, other leaders of the Democratic Party, all of them will have to be there. So as a result, President Biden cannot be in Australia. But if Prime Minister Modi is there, he will definitely have his bilaterals with Prime Minister Albanese, maybe with Prime Minister Kishida. All that will go as planned. But the Quad meeting is certainly not happening.
All right, so that is not happening as of now. We don't know if that will be rescheduled for a later day or even when it comes to another country. But the leaders of Australia, United States, India and Japan would instead also be meeting at the G7 in Japan later after President Biden cancelled his trip to Sydney on the second leg of his upcoming Asia visit. Thank you very much, Jitarth and Srinjoy, for joining in.